We believe that nothing happens by chance, that everything is by divine appointment. And as we acknowledge this divine appointment here this morning, that we heard the call and we showed up out of that divine appointment. And what I know is that when we listen to the still small voice of God and we are guided and directed in that energy field, that creates the space of miracles. So as I welcome you here today to Interfaith Spiritual Center Worldwide, a divine idea in the mind of God whose time has come, the time is now, and the place is where we are. You see, there is no spot where God is not. So we are here together on this glorious day to acknowledge an amazing event. And every Easter Sunday we come together. On Palm Sunday we do our group rose baptism. I do it with the rose of perfection. And I dip it into the holy water that I have blessed, that are from Fatima Lords and blessed them very well. And we ignite at that brow center. For the eye in which I see God is the same eye in which God sees me. And that when we unite at that energy level and experience Christ consciousness, the ancient Sanskrit calls it what? Namaste. The God in me celebrates the God in you, and the God in you celebrates the God in me. And if I am in that place in me, and you are in that place in you, there truly is only one of us. So as we recommit to our spiritual life, we let the old things pass away. We let all that no longer serves us pass away. All the little pettiness, the grudges, all that little humanity. We let that go as our humanness, gives way to the divine, and the Christ consciousness arises, triumphant and victorious. And as we begin to acknowledge together that there is a power for good in the universe greater than we are, and we tap into it. We tap into this energy because we are co-creators with it. Now, one of my very favorite little stories, Easter stories, is about a Midwestern town. And there was a teacher, her name was Doris Miller, and she taught the class, she taught second graders. And she loved her class. And she had one particular student in her class that he was experiencing a lot of learning disabilities. He was born with palsy, and he would go through all of his gyrations, but the parents begged her to just keep him in the class. And even though he was 12 years old, he was in a second grade class. His name was Jeremy. And he irritated Doris Miller, who was the teacher. He would drool and make sounds and grunts and noises. And she would try to work on herself, but he just irritated her. So one day, spring came, and she gave this wonderful assignment to the class. And the assignment was, here is a plastic egg for each of you. You will bring it back tomorrow, and you will put in it something that represents new life. Because this is the Easter season. This is about Jesus, and it's about new life, and it's about the resurrection. And she passed out all the little plastic eggs, and she went home that night. Thought, I really should probably, call Jeremy's parents, because I'm sure he didn't even understand what the assignment was. But then something happened with the plumbing, and she had to call the landlord, and she had to wait, and she didn't make the call to the parents. And the next day, there she was at the desk with her wicker basket, and each little child, they put all of their little eggs in her basket, and she opened one, and it was a flower. And she said, oh, yes, this represents new life. This little flower, yes. And one little girl said, that was mine, that was mine. And then she opened the next one, and it was a plastic butterfly that looked so lifelike. And she said, oh, yes, a butterfly represents new life as the caterpillar transforms into the butterfly. Oh, yes, Susie, thank you. Then she opened the next one. It was a rock with some moss on it. She said, yes, this moss represents new life. And Billy raised his hand and said, my dad and I went out to the woods and we found it. And she said, very good. And the fourth one she opened, it was empty. And she thought, I knew I should have called Jeremy's parents. So rather than embarrass him, she sort of put it to one side and reached for another. And little Jeremy, in the clearest voice, said, "What about mine, teacher?" She said, "Oh, well, yours has nothing in it." And he said, "Well, didn't they go to the tomb and Jesus wasn't there and the tomb was empty?" And she said, "Yes, do you understand what happened?" And he said, "Yes, they killed him and he rose up as he said he would." She was stunned. And then when all the children went out to recess, the coldness of her heart melted, and she sat at her desk and she wept. She wept for all of the judgment, the impatience. She knew that he had, once in a while, it's like a light went on and he was, the clarity that he would share from his own consciousness. But most of the time it was the other. And so 3 months later, Jeremy died in his sleep. And they had a memorial service, a celebration of Jeremy's life. And on the casket, there were 19 children in the class. On the casket were 19 empty eggs. Because he is not here, he has risen, as he said he would. So when that tomb is empty, when that energy arises, because the tomb of time will not hold that level of energy, then it expands outward toward infinity. Life is a self-evolving circle, imperceptibly small at first, reaching outward into ever-widening circles toward infinity. That we are as the circle of life, and expressing this initiation, that when our humanness gives way to the divine, when we conquer our ego, when we no longer look outside ourselves and judge by appearances, conditions, effects, the doubts and fears and lack, limitation and scarcity that come up in that ego mind of ours, when we say, "Hey, be still and know that I am God. God and I are the majority, and none of these outer things move me. I have overcome. I am the resurrection and the life. Destroy this house, and in 3 days I will build it up again, because there is that within us that is indestructible. And that when we make our transition, the 0.13 ectoplasm that is left, that soul stuff, that energy, moves into the next dimension. And anyone who has had a near-death experience experiences that light, that energy. And if they've come back, they said, "It was so beautiful, I did not want to come back, because I have risen. I am not there. I have expanded on into a greater reality. I have initiated. I've passed this initiation." And when I went live on Good Friday from 12 to 12:30, the 7 last declarations of Jesus the Christ. And as I shared each declaration and what it meant metaphysically in the ancient wisdom teachings, I had so many people respond that they had a deeper understanding of the Easter message. And one person, she said, "You know that my mother didn't want to have me over for Easter dinner because she didn't think that we were worthy of making a big deal out of it. But I understand when you said, 'Who is your mother?' You know, 'Behold thy mother, behold thy son,'" that Jesus said to his disciple John and to his mother. And that there is a universal Father, Mother, God, that we are so intimately related. She said, "I finally understand that true message, and my feelings are no longer hurt." And I told her, I said, people tend to treat others as they feel about themselves. Make your own grand Easter repast. Invite everybody over. Celebrate that you are the resurrection and the life, that it's a rebirth, it's a new day, it's a new opportunity to be in the world, and of a higher spiritual vibratory frequency. For this did I come. For this was I born. And when we understand this, and we get this at a DNA cellular level, we are so healed. It's so wonderful not to have those buttons pushed and that we're reacting. That we've healed that we can kind of laugh at it for where we used to be. Because when we are feeling so good about ourselves, nothing and no thing can disturb our peace of mind. I am so firmly grounded in the truth. And it is the truth that sets me free. So rather than having hurt feelings, and this one isn't doing that, and that one, feels this way, we are the resurrection and the life. No man, woman comes to the Father, Mother, God, except by right of their own consciousness. It's about consciousness. And when we understand it's about consciousness, that whole opening and aha moment, the epiphany of I and my Father, Mother, God are one. And there is none else. It's the empty egg. The egg represents new life. That I am risen, as I said I would. And when we understand that we move on, and life is a spiral, and each new revolution, there's disorientation when we're moving to the next level. There's that disorientation. And then when we move to that next level, and then, this is our new spiritual estate. It's as though we've always been there. When I was 21 years old, I joined the airlines. And I was always so aware that when some problem or challenge seemed so huge, the higher we got, we think, oh my gosh, I was upset about that. Oh, unbelievable. It's all about perspective. Our point of view depends what? On our perspective. And when we put it in perspective, we are not swallowed up in the conditions that come upon us. And when we understand that, then we create the space of miracles and give gratitude every single day. And just like Doris Miller, that second grade teacher, who her heart melted and she sat at her desk and she wept. Because surely, out of this being, this little master that spoke, he is not there, he is risen. And when we understand that we are no longer who we once were, and I want you to pay attention to this. We are no longer who we once were. We are what? We are children of the Most High. That Jesus said, a little lower than the angels. That we came that we might know life in ever more abundant ways. So the ego has an amazing sense of distraction. And we create distractions so that we don't have to be about our Father, Mother, God's business. And when we create distractions, and think about all the text messaging that's going on, and that we can't be present or mindful because we're so important, we got to, just answer this. And I love when Ellen DeGeneres said, it's like you're standing there and you're speaking with someone and their cell phone goes off and they look at it and go, oh, I've got to take this. In other words, you're not as important as what's just come over here, so I have to take this. No, being mindful, being present, being aware is that we are fully and completely engaged. And that when I am in the present moment and open to space to allow God to do what God does best, fully initiated into this stage of enlightenment. And that as long as we are here, it's about growing, it's about unfolding, it's about expressing all that we can be. When Jesus' shadow side, remember the two thieves on the cross? There, one on the left and the one on the right. The one on the left said, well, if you're the king of the Jews, save yourself now, king of the Jews. That was his shadow, saying, oh my God, what have I gotten myself into? And then on the right was the thief that looked at him and said, surely you are the Son of God. Surely you are the Son of God. And Jesus turned to him and said, today, thou wilt be with me in paradise. You know who I am. Both sides, our dark side, our shadow, and our light merge. And we become the living Christ. And the tomb of time cannot hold the energy. It explodes that energy and the myth that death is final. Why are we afraid of death on the human level? Is it not that we are afraid of the unknown? But is not each new day a journey into the unknown? Think about it. And though our friends be on the other side of the planet, they are not here, but they are within us. And so is death. But the waking to a new reality. And that, as we say, we're on this side of the shore waving goodbye, saying they're gone. And there are other eyes watching them coming, taking up the glad shout. Here they come at last. We have risen on this day. We have risen in consciousness. We are open to the truth that sets us free. And in this freedom, do we live? Think about it. In this freedom, do we live? Do we move about and have our being in Christ consciousness? So we believe in our way of life that all paths that lead to God are good. That the Jew, the Hindu, the Muslim, that we're all one. And that the golden thread of that energy is the dawning of the spiritual sun. For a moment, all faiths became as one. The Christian, Buddhist, Muslim, Jew became as one, and somehow knew that mystic voice that calls to me, "O yonder person, I am thee." We are one, beyond color, race, creed, sexual orientation, and political affiliation. We are one. And that makes all the difference. So on this day, this glorious Easter day, where we walk outside, we see the trees, the newborn buds transform to leaves. That energy lives within each of us. And I'm going to complete today with a poem I wrote many years ago. It's called "I'm Beginning to Like the Idea of Me. For now I share a closer relationship to thee. My thoughts were but a faded glance at something I once thought was chance. I search no more, my thoughts are mine, and only the infinite can tell you my rhyme. For the voice is there so strong yet so kind, and I am but a part of that universal mind. My struggle is over, my race is won. I can finally accept being a chosen one. Yes, I'm beginning to like the idea of me. For now I am one with God and with thee. And so it is. So on this day, where we know that we are going higher, that we have risen to a new state of consciousness, because none of these outer things shall move us. I am in a high place, and I will not come down. We are all going somewhere, and where is it? Higher yet. Yes? Higher yet. Where? Higher yet. Because I am in a high place, and I will not come down. And so it is. And I say namaste. The God in me celebrates the God in you, and the God in you celebrates the God in me. And if I'm in that place in me, and you are in that place in you, there truly is only one of us. Shalom, the peace that passes all understanding. And God bless us, everyone, for we have risen as we said we would. And so it is. Thank you.